Hi, everybody. This is Stephen Levine in the Sporting News studio, joined via telephone by Steve Greenberg, college football writer for Sporting News. Steve, we're starting to hear word of a lot of coaching changes in the ranks of college football. Sonny Dykes heading from Louisiana Tech to Cal. What's going to be the bigger transition for him? Ruston, Louisiana to Berkeley, or the WAC to the Pac-12?
Sonny Dykes in Berkeley, I mean, I'm already kind of chuckling at that, although he's a pretty sophisticated, interesting guy, and I think he's a great coach. He will do just fine. He can coach toe-to-toe with those new coaches who joined last year. He's offensively, well-renowned at this point, but I think he's a program CEO type more than he's given credit for. Definitely more than he was allowed to do at a place like Louisiana Tech, where he had to really roll his sleeves up on a granular level and do things that he hopefully won't have to do at Cal, where he'll be able to affect more of the kind of large-scale changes that he wanted to do at a BCS program. So he's got a chance, to me, to really affect the Pac-12 North, make Cal the kind of contender Washington seemed to be becoming, and maybe even get there ahead of the Huskies.
Well, another team that's looking for a pretty drastic turnaround, the Tennessee Volunteers. Butch Jones leaving Cincinnati, heading to Tennessee, but he wasn't necessarily the first choice.
He wasn't necessarily the fourth choice. But you look at what Tennessee's got. It's a repeat of what happened before Mike Hamilton hired Derek Dooley, only now different AD, different coach, and an upgrade. I mean, a guy with more credentials, without a doubt. You have to remember, Dooley was under 500. The extent of his head coaching career was 3 seasons at Louisiana Tech, and he was 17-20 in that time. And he's a guy with more coaching chops, but he's not what they wanted, no. And frankly, Butch Jones has not shown that yet that he can build a program starting with laying a foundation. Tennessee needs a foundation. What Jones has done is follow Brian Kelly to Central Michigan, and then follow Brian Kelly at Cincinnati. Now, that's not a knock. I mean, he knows what a good program looks like, and being able to recognize that is important too. But now he's got to sort of build it from an earlier point, and that's going to be his big challenge, doing that while being competitive enough in the SEC not to have people calling for his job.
There's also some stories about coaches who aren't changing jobs. Charlie Strong decides to stay at Louisville. Mike Gundy stays at Oklahoma State. You surprised by either of those decisions?
Well, I was surprised that Gundy was out there, not because I don't think he'd be a really terrific candidate anywhere. I'm a very big believer in what Mike Gundy does, and I think that he could coach anywhere. But it's his alma mater at Oklahoma State. He's got great support from Boone Pickens, and there's a lot of money there, and I think he's got a great situation. I mean, he's really set up to legitimately compete with Oklahoma over the long haul. And if you're competing with Oklahoma over the long haul, you're competing for Big 12 championships. But I would expect that Charlie Strong, it comes as a bigger surprise to a lot of people. But for as long as that guy waited for and wanted his first head job, the fact that Louisville gave it to him, the fact that Tom Jurek paid him well and respects him, and they're pointed in a real good direction there, and I think he showed some loyalty, and that surprises people inherently in major college sports, but it's nice to see, and frankly, it's a good position. I mean, they're headed for the ACC. They're a pretty darn good program. I mean, I think Charlie Strong's in a good spot and didn't need to leave, and he'll get more opportunities if he keeps winning.
And it sounds like Mack Brown gets a reprieve in Texas, at least for another season, but how much wiggle room is this guy going to get in a great football state like Texas?
Gosh, he's under contract now through, I think, 2020, which is just kind of mind-blowing considering, the way that program is stagnating, but and also, being paid all the while at a level that's right there with Nick Saban. So, yeah, I mean, clearly Mack Brown's got to do more. He's got to coax more out of his coaches. This is one of the inventors of the CEO term for a head coach, which is really a way of saying that, among other things, the guy doesn't have a lot to do with the game planning, with the X's and O's and all that. What I blame Mack Brown for is not recognizing more decisively the weak spots that have developed in his program, on his coaching staff, with his players. He might have to coach a little more, and it might be good for him. I mean, maybe this is what sort of how Mack gets his groove back, but if not, then I I think they'll continue to stagnate, and ultimately they'll find a new coach.